Welcome to the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, where we talk books, drink booze, and have beards.
All right. As always, I am Bob of Tales by Bob.
I'm the ass of the podcast, Derek.
And I am going to remain for the rest of this week best intern, greatest intern.
That's all well and good, but I think we need to
Sugared up intern.
I think we need
I'm
to
not
up
sugared up.
intern.
I'm
acknowledge
hyped,
the
though.
fact that we're going over actual stories again,
Yeah.
which is where I got my nickname. So
True.
this'll be fun.
Yeah. So we've got two stories this week. If you haven't read them, stop what you're doing. Go read them. They are Sun, Moon, Dust by Ursula Vernon, which you can actually listen to.
Ooh.
You can, if you listen to podcasts, you can go download. I think it's episode 16A of the Uncanny Magazine podcast. You can also, if you click our link to take you to the story on the Books, Beards, Booze website, they have a player there that you can listen to it. So you don't even have to read that one. You can have it read to you. The other story is The Martian Obelisk by Linda Nagata. Just a quick little thing about both of these stories. They were both Hugo finalists for 28 short story finalists for 2018. That's how I came across them.
Have we read the winning one?
Yeah, the winning one was Your Authentic Indian Experience, TM, by Rebecca Roanhorse.
I actually just listened to that episode. I was listening to some back episodes. I listened to that this week.
So that was the winner. Other nominees were Carnival 9 and Fandom for Robots.
Oh, so okay. I couldn't remember if this was the same year. That
Yeah,
all these...
same year. And the other story these are the last two.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last, well, there's one more, but we're not going to do it because that story doesn't make any goddamn sense. I read it. Originally it was, and I went and read it, and I was like, I don't know. No. So we're not doing it. I can't remember the name of it. And actually, I read, like, while I was kind of researching these stories a little bit, I went and read a review, and, like, this is a person who's one of the Hugo voters. Mm-hmm. They were like, yeah, first time I read it, like, I didn't get this. And then I kind of did some research on the person, and I read it a second time, and I think I kind of get it now. I was like, no, that's not the story.
Have to do that.
That's not the story for this podcast. All right. So, a little bit about Ursula Vernon. She's
the one who wrote the Obelisk.
No, she's the one who wrote Sun, Moon, Dust.
Okay.
So she has also in the past won Hugo's, Mythiopoeic Awards, and Nebulas for like short stories, novellas. She also like illustrates and writes some younger kids books like the Dragon's Breath series. Linda Nagata has also won a Nebula and a Locust. I think if I remember correctly, she was the first person to ever win a Nebula for a purely digital product. She had a novella that was never like published,
Right.
like physically, and so she won a Nebula for that. Yeah, so I didn't want to dive too deep in on the authors because we're here for the stories.
Story, y'all.
So let's do Sun, Moon, Dust first because it's the order that it's in on our website.
Because it's the better one of the two.
All right, so I'll say this: I did like this one more than the other. Derek,
I highly disagree.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I was like,
I enjoyed them both, but I like Sun, Moon, Dust. It was
okay.
It was just so
Lacking in all of the
All right.
things.
No.
So Sun, Moon, Dust.
I like the way it made me feel.
Yeah, it was a upbeat, kind of happy story with just a bunch of like little pithy little lines, like snuggled in there. They're just like, oh, that's great. Like he's talking about like the goat. Like the goat hadn't said. The goat had been very quiet for the past few days.
Yeah, I love
He was
it.
pretty sure it was plotting something. Like
Oh
just
yeah,
those
don't
little
get me
lines, I
wrong.
love
I'm
that.
not saying it wasn't
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's not what I meant. It was.
Okay. So I really, really, really like this story. It's one of, I would put it in the top probably like 6 or 7 of stories that we've read on this podcast, I would think. It's a fun story. Yeah, no, I really like this story.
Okay, this is probably going to tell me a lot. You're not saying this would have been above Carnival 9 in the voting for...
No. Like I said, it'd be like 6
No,
or
I
7.
I mean, like if because we read all of the.
If I was voting, I would have given it to probably Phantom for Robots.
That's fine. I mean, it's wrong, but it's still fine.
Carnival 9 would have got my number 2.
Carnival 9's the right choice, but
But Phantom, I love Phantom for Robots so much. Robots. But yeah, no, this story was great. Again, these are short stories, so that's why we've started doing 2 of them, because most of these you can't go super, super, super deep on them. But if you haven't read it and you're not going to kind of summarize the story briefly, a guy inherits his grandmother's sword that when you draw it, 3 warriors live inside the sword, and when you draw it, they appear. And they're basically like, okay, let's go conquer now. And he's like, but I just really want to be a farmer. Like, I don't want to do that.
I'm good.
And one of the warriors is like, no, go kill. And then another of the warriors is like, so you really don't, you just happy being a farmer? Huh. And then the moon is like, asking questions about farming, like really interested in the farming.
Tell me about your potatoes.
Yeah. And so they end up at the end of the story, Sun and Dust, so you just want to be a farmer and let's go kill. They go back into the sword waiting for this guy to die so he can pass the sword on. And Moon is like, no, I'm tired of being in the sword. I want to return to being a farmer. Like I'm with it. Like let's do this. And there's some romance there. Like the guy and Moon are kind of like, electric touch, and so
I liked Moon, where he was like, I can remember my home, but I don't think my home would remember me anymore.
Yeah,
And
I don't think the Earth would remember me.
Yeah, the land that he was from, I didn't think it would remember him anymore.
Alpa is the guy's name.
Yeah,
I think Alpa was like, he was horrified, like
the land can forget me.
Earth? Oh my God, the Earth! I can't. Like it was.
He's like, I never even thought of that.
It was nauseating to think about the Earth forgetting him.
Yeah.
I think what I like most about this story is it takes the trope of you're the farmer, you get the weapon, and you go off and conquer. And
Become
it's like,
great.
No,
I'm good.
Oh, I got the thing. Oh no, I'm just gonna stay a farmer.
Yeah,
I like that. It's like an inverse of the trope. Like,
I like how Grandma was like, "Get it together, you piece of shit! Take this fucking sword. You're useless."
Yeah. The grandma was.
I don't even really. She wasn't really like, you're useless. She was like, I should have taught you all this shit a long time ago. What the fuck did I do? Why would I?
I got some of that, but more like, I should have trained you, but fuck, I couldn't have because you're so fucking. Ugh. Why was I cursed with such a dingbat for a grandkid? But take this sword anyway. Go away. Let me die.
I didn't quite see it that.
Yeah.
That negatively.
No, it's not a negative thing. It's just more like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I like.
She was crotchety. That's,
she was definitely.
I got a soft spot for crotchety grandparents.
You are a crotchety grandparent. I mean, you don't have the kids or grandkids, but you have the age and crotchety.
And you sure do complain.
Yeah.
I do love to complain. That's my favorite.
So yeah, y'all thoughts? What do you?
Do you want to go before?
I don't know. I just like I don't have a lot to dig into this story. I enjoyed Moon. I
have a bit more to talk about the other one because I didn't like it as much. So I have things I can point out that I didn't like.
I feel like there was more depth to the other story.
Yeah.
The Obelisk story. So I feel like I have less to talk about where this. I did enjoy this story, the Sun, Moon, Dust. I did enjoy this. I liked the way it made me feel. The goat was great. Yeah. And
my only quibble with the whole thing is there's the line where because I read the story twice. The first time I read it, there's one passage I had to reread a couple of times because it didn't. Like, I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. Where he's talking about how Moon touches him and he feels like basically, his electric touch kind of deal, you know?
Yeah.
And the very next line is like, no, because Sun was reshaping his hand kind of deal. And it was just very confusing. Like it.
Oh, I know the place you're talking about.
It wasn't very clear. Like it. My first read through, I was like, wait a minute, no, Moon touched him. Why is he talking about Sun? He's planting. He's not trying to hold his sword. Why is... It was very, like, that was very jumbled, and it wasn't made clear enough what was going on. So, like, that was a faulty craft part. But the rest of it, I mean, it's light fluff. It's a fluff piece, more or less. You're not getting
anything out of
crucial depth here.
It was cotton candy. I liked it.
I
liked it.
Which is why I didn't like it. I mean,
you like the story, but it's just not quite the short story for you.
The concept was fine. The writing style was fine.
Yeah.
There was just at no point was there any meat.
Yeah, it's cotton candy.
Well, no, I know,
fluff.
but there's things that were fluff, like that still had something to grab onto. Like to me, Fandom for Robots was a lot of fluff, but there was still something to grab onto. This is so airy, and there isn't anything to, like, things just kind of happen and then it's over. There's not really there's a conclusion, but not really, and no one really progresses. Like Moon does a little bit, but how quickly things happen and how little there's interaction that leads to that change. It just there wasn't enough to it, and it's not like because I know they're short stories, but this one was longer.
Yeah.
Or what was it?
Martian Obelisk.
The Martian Obelisk was longer, but it was still a fairly short. It was a short story.
Yeah.
It just, I really, really wanted to like this one, and when I first started it, I was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of like what we're doing here. I like the idea," and then it just left me wanting it to have been more than it was, and it just was disappointing.
Okay, I can see that. Because I mean, Alpa doesn't really grow at all. Now, granted, it's a short story. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of, I guess the only growth he has is falling in love with Moon, but that's kind of more of a subtle thread, and
even that, it was so, like, if that was what you're going for, cool, but like you mentioned a couple of times him blushing and stuff like that, so I'm like, oh, that's nice, but there's very little. I don't know how to describe it, but
well, I think there was a lot showing that, but like, you know, he spends a lot more time describing Moon than anyone else. He pays a lot more attention to the features of Moon, and then there's like the scene with like the electric touch, and there's multiple scenes of blushing and kind of. So I mean, I think for the length of the story, there was a fairly significant, because also there is a fair.
Well, here's the thing: those weren't scenes though; those were just mentionings in the context of continuous scene. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, there was. I'm not saying that it wasn't like built in or anything like that. I'm just saying those weren't full scenes, and if that's the point of the story, then I would have liked. Because to me, the point of the story was Moon coming to grips with the fact that he wanted to change what he was doing.
I think the point of the story is not everyone wants to be a hero.
Well, yeah, I know.
I think that was the point of the story. I think Moon was just a bonus. I think Moon was the subplot. The real thing is just being happy with who you are and what you're trying to do.
Just because an opportunity is given to you doesn't mean you have to take it if it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, but even
or you would get no satisfaction out of it, or not be good at it.
But see, even that, I didn't really get that. Like, I understand that, but I didn't think it was particularly, because it was just like they were like, "Hey, let's do this thing." It was like, nah, and it's not even like they were, like, it wasn't even really that they were trying to convince him to. They were just like, "We should do this thing," and he was just like, "Nah."
Well, I mean, they did try to train him for a while.
Yeah, and he was just like. Well,
and he just wasn't any good at it.
What was it, a week or two? Or...
Yeah, but I mean, he devoted some time to trying to make them happy, more or less, and then finally, Sun is like, because they're thinking that, oh, well, he'll get into this, and then he'll come around, and finally, like after like 2 weeks of this, Sun is like, so you really have no interest, really? Wow, huh? What do you know?
They do exist.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I liked it well enough.
Let's talk about the Martian Obelisk. Unless you have something else you want to add.
No. I mean, it was okay.
Okay.
But...
So the Martian Obelisk, this story in brief is Earth has gone to shit. everyone is probably going to die. They've tried 4 different times to colonize Mars. They've all failed. There's an artist who, a rich guy, comes to her and is like, if you could do anything, what would you do? And she's like, buy me one of these failed colonies, and I've mapped it all out. I want to build an obelisk on it remotely using the robots at this place, because it will last longer than humanity. Like, we're going to die.
It'll be a testament to humanity.
Yeah, there'll be something that survives us then. Mm-hmm. And he's like, cool. Well, they start doing it. They're like 13 years into this 20-year project, and recently the last Mars colony had failed. They all got like some plague and died. Well, all of a sudden there's like a Mars rover heading for the obelisk, yada yada yada, and they're freaking out, and it ends up there's a couple of survivors. So this artist,
a mom and her 2 kids.
So the mom, or the artist, gives up the obelisk to keep these people alive, basically. And
to maybe keep these people alive.
Well, to keep them alive for
a couple of years,
a while long. Like, they will be dead in a few days in their rover. At least they will live at least a few more days, if not years. While this is going on, the rich guy comes and is like, "Oh, hey, your daughter that died in Hawaii that's been quarantined. Yeah,
she had a kid.
She had a kid. The kid's alive. Cool. I dip."
Not only do you have a daughter, but surprise.
Well, no, the daughter's dead. The daughter died, but had.
Oh, that was where the granddaughter came from.
Okay. And then the granddaughter has a child.
That's what I think.
The granddaughter is the child.
No, there's another kid.
Yeah.
There's the granddaughter and then the granddaughter's daughter.
Yeah.
There's two.
The granddaughter is old enough to have her own child.
Yes, because it's been like 20-something years or something shit like that. So the granddaughter,
it's been like not that long.
The daughter dies, gives birth right before she dies, and now her granddaughter is old enough to have had her own child. There are 2 steps in this progeny line.
No. You have a granddaughter, one who grew up without her parents in a quarantine zone. That's what it says right here. Like, it's her daughter was in the quarantine zone.
Yes.
And gave birth before dying.
Correct.
So this daughter, her granddaughter, has grown up in the quarantine zone.
Well, then how did Derek and I read that same story and both were under the impression that there were 2 living descendants of this architect?
No. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how y'all did that, but...
Find it, Derek. It's there.
I mean, I literally just read you the line that said you have a granddaughter. Not you have a great-granddaughter.
It's there.
Nothing like that. She's healthy, and she has a healthy 2-year-old daughter.
Bang.
Okay. All right.
So her granddaughter has a daughter. So there's 2 steps of lineage for this architect who was so concerned about having a legacy of some sort, because the architect had built these other glass monuments that got destroyed, and she's very concerned about
leaving something to show that they were there.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's futile. Everything you leave for the future is just going to not really be around, and you can't guarantee that. She built those 2 glass towers, and they got destroyed. Hoping for the obelisk, it got destroyed.
Well, it didn't get destroyed, it just didn't get finished.
For all intents and purposes, the obelisk ain't no more.
Right. Well, it's more in domes and purposes, because they're not living in tents, they're living in domes.
And then now she's got this grandchild and a great-grandchild who ultimately they're going to die, because that's what people do. It's what bodies do. You die.
Yeah.
But,
I think you took a different meaning than what I think the author was trying to.
No, I mean, like, she's, yay, I'm hopeful. Let's put our efforts into people over things, and let's band together and not worry about leaving a monument when you can help a person. But, like, the architect wants to have something to be remembered by, and so she gives up her obelisk to help that family. And then by the end of the story, you're thinking that she's going to put her efforts into her grandchild and great-grandchild, but I walk away from that story going, well, everything is just equally impermanent because she built these statues.
I was with you up until that last part because I didn't get that coming out of it. What I got of it coming out of it was the fact that everyone in this world had written off everything. They were just like, oh, we're screwed. We're just giving up.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So everyone did that. And she had given up to the point where she was just like, well, I'm just going to build this gravestone, basically, on another to show that we were all here. And by the end of it, there was like, improbable things can happen. You don't just give up.
Yeah.
Like you keep fighting until there's no more fight to be had. Just like all these people should have been dead on Hawaii.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and for the first time in years they had a positive breakthrough in the world, and they were like, "Oh shit.
Yeah.
Maybe everything's not hopeless. Maybe we can get there."
That's the message I took away is where there's life, there's hope.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. So that was I think that was the message she's trying to impart. And I think she did that. My problem with this story is
that guy being a dick and not telling her that she had a grandkid, even though he knew that that's pretty important information you ought to tell somebody.
Well,
yeah,
that's not my problem that he withheld that information.
That's shitty.
I mean,
that's real shitty.
Well, she
makes
did,
perfect sense.
It made it
yeah
did. It
for
made
a selfish dude who wants to make sure that his thing that he's financially backing comes to completion.
Well, also, but here's the thing:
she specifically asked him to do that for her.
She's like, I don't want distractions. I want to focus on this
because she has given up on life, and he knows that, and he's her. And they're friends too. It's not like they're
what a shit friend.
Well, no, but here's the thing though: like, if the monument had kept getting built, I don't think she would have reacted all that positively. Because, like, she's got her life work here that she's trying to complete, and now she's got a grandkid. Like, I think it would have turned out. I think she would have resented him for doing that. Like, I'm sure, yes, she would have wanted to know, but I think she also would have it would have marred their friendship, I think.
That's...
Like, yeah, should he have told her sooner? Sure. But, I mean, he told her.
But he only told her because, like, it felt manipulative to me. Like, she's trying to dismantle this thing that he's put his money into. Like, yes, build this obelisk. And she's like, well, we got to help these people. And he's like, well, you're destroying the thing I want, which is this monument. So, fuck you. You have a grandkid. And you got a great grandkid. I didn't tell you.
I didn't feel like that at all.
I don't know. It felt gross. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was like a stand-up thing, but to me, it was like, she was like, hey, I don't want to know anything. Leave me alone. Let me.
There's a difference between, like, please don't tell me what's happening on CNN and, oh, by the way,
here's the thing.
You have a family.
But where do you, like, she's made it clear that she doesn't want to know anything. So he's supposed to now just arbitrarily pick and choose what to tell her and what not to tell her, kind of deal. You know, it's like, if you tell me, hey, I don't want to know what's going on in the world, and then, well, so I'm going to listen to her, but I'm going to pick and choose how I listen to her. You're going to be a little snippy if I
tell you anything.
I think, I know she said don't tell me anything, but I'm going to tell her this anyway.
Hold on. Also, take something else into consideration. You have to take into consideration she said that and then completely and totally secluded herself from all of everything.
Yeah.
Away from everyone, away from everything.
I get it. Like, her husband and her kids and all that shit just got wiped away, and she's super depressed and like, fuck this world and everything in it. I'm just going to go bury my head in the sand and build this obelisk on a whole nother planet. Don't tell me anything more about the news. I can't handle it. The fact that you have a family, that's not CNN news. Like, I don't know. I think the guy was a shitty person.
I think this is emergency contact kind of all over again. I think just like, we're like, okay, kind of, Yeah, was it a stand-up thing to do? Was he like a patron saint for withholding this information? No.
I think they're
But
both
I don't
shitty
think
people.
it's as bad as you.
They're both shitty.
They're
Make it out
really
to be.
not. I don't like okay, so
He's trying to protect his friend. She's trying to memorialize humanity. They both have their goals, and this is just kind of
and look, he also
fall
it's
off.
I think it's not a stretch to think that he wants to have it's not just her trying to memorialize humanity. He wants that thing to happen too.
Yes,
that's why he's trying to help her.
That's why he was saying, "Don't
Right.
help the mom and the kid
Yeah.
on Mars. Finish building this thing. Let them die."
Well,
Because they're gonna die anyway. Just let them die and build a
yeah, but
monument.
see, that's the thing. That's because literally that whole point is everyone in this world has given up on life. Everyone, including him and including her, they've given up and they're just trying to do this thing. So when she turns around and is like, "I'm not like this is too important. This is not worth sacrificing these people for. It's not right." And he's like. She comes back from the brink before him and talks him into it, and he's resisting it because he's scared of caring again. And then this happens, and he's like, "Well, shit. If you genuinely feel this way, then I got some shit I got to tell you. Because if you're gonna come back and try
That's a
and
good way to look at
live life again, then you should know that this is kind of what's been going on. And I haven't told you because I thought we were all." Seconds from the grave, and you were just trying to focus on this thing.
Yeah.
But
So my problems with this, too. One, it's just such a fucking downer, man.
Yeah.
This story is such a downer. I don't
Yeah.
like downery stories. Like it, and I know like it ends on a slightly hopeful note, but it's still just it's such God. The story's such a
your
downer.
favorite fantasy is grim, dark fantasy where everyone dies. How do you always say that you don't like stories where everything is so depressing?
No, but grimdark doesn't always mean hopeless. Like Mark Lawrence. Broken Empire, that is quintessential grimdark. But it's a lot of people die, it's grim and it's dark, but there is a thread of moving towards something positive.
This ends with them moving towards something.
It ends with, but to me, my read on it was like the world is so, like, I know, like, the author's, like, I think the author's point was trying to, like, oh, hey, it's there, where there's life, there's hope. But the scenario that she has built in this, like, just talking about, like, what all is wrong with Earth.
Too late.
I think it's too, like, my
too
read
late.
on it was too late.
Was it, though? Because we're only listening to this woman's perspective, and she's cut herself off from all of everything.
That
But
mom
she wouldn't
and that
know.
Yes,
family on
but
Mars is
Derek,
dead.
we don't have anything else to go on, kind of deal. Like,
yeah.
so yes, if the story was told by someone else, there might be a different perspective on it. But just my read on
And
all
also,
the
she's
problems.
like, what was she, 80? Like, she was
Yeah.
close to
Something
dead
like that.
anyway, so it was everything is
but
gonna
also
seem-
she knows like how shitty everything has gotten. She ain't even like, her knowledge is older. Kind of, I don't know. To me, it was just such a down. That's just a minor quibble. That's just a me taste wise. I just thought the whole daughter thing was from out of left field.
Yeah, that seemed just so.
It just seemed to come
weird.
like just so
That's what,
from out of left field. Like it was jarring, and I didn't like it, kind of deal. Like I realized it was kind of something for the story. Like I see what she was going for, but to me it just came so out of left field. And
I guess that's why I
didn't like
feel
that.
so gross about it, where it feels like he just told her that as like some form of manipulation because it was so out of place.
I guess. All right, I think you're misplaced. I feel the same way, but not that he was manipulating. I felt like the author manipulated us.
Okay.
Like it's so
Yeah.
from out of left field.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's
Okay, so-
this is
Okay.
It's for plot reasons, but it just seems like forced and shoehorned
Okay,
in.
let me
Yeah.
ask you this.
Yeah.
So they mentioned that there were people out. What is this? This was Hawaii.
Hawaii, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
Which
they're
is
out in
where
Hawaii.
Linda Nagata is from.
So they're out in Hawaii. Like they build this. Part of what I liked more about this than Sun, Moon, Dust is that there was some world building,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
letting you know what's happening
Right.
outside of the.
Yeah, Sun, Moon, Dust. You literally like
You're on
basically
his
never
farm.
leave the
That's
farm.
it. Yeah.
But so I completely lost my train.
No,
of thought.
well, I know, like, they definitely
Some
dropped
world
the
building.
hint, like, oh,
No, but see, my thing is, would you have been? This isn't like me being like, well, no, this is a genuine question. So if they had like maybe referenced another time between then and the reveal that like weird news had been coming out of Hawaii, or she had heard the
that
thing,
might would have helped.
something like
Yeah.
that, to just kind of make it seem like it wasn't just.
Oh, by the way,
Gotcha.
ta-da!
Yeah, that might would have helped.
Because that was the only thing I thought. Because like I liked it, but it was kind of there should have been more. There's you know how I am.
You gave me
There-
A
there-
and C. You need to have a little bit of a B link.
Give me a B. Give me a something.
Yeah.
And that is my biggest problem with this story. I liked the story overall.
Yeah.
Like I would definitely recommend that people. I definitely recommend people read this. It was deserving of the nomination, I think. But for me, the reason why it didn't win is
It was
because
Carvel 9, yeah.
I think the reason it didn't win is because I have a suspicion that we're not the only people that feel like that was kind of
Because honestly,
the
when I
payoff
was
wasn't
reading
justified.
when I was reading it the whole time, I wasn't expecting a moral message where it was like, hey, don't just like basically don't surrender. Hope is. I was not expecting that, because anytime you read these stories, it's always just miserable the whole time, and then everyone dies.
Where I thought the story was going to go, that was like some sort of terrorist. They managed to blow up the terrorist thing, and then they go back to building it or something like that. Either they go back to building it, or the terrorist didn't blow up the monument, but it blew up one of the needed robots, and so they just couldn't continue. So there's an unfinished obelisk, and that's a metaphor for humanity's unfinished potential.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought it was going, and then it took a left turn.
I like where it went, but
Yeah.
there was a missing step.
Ooh, so now instead of there being an obelisk, that's a testament to humanity. They're gonna have an empty house on Mars where this mom and her two children are going to die.
It worked in the Bible, Maybe we have
gross.
We
A
have
bunch of inbred
deliverance
Martian
on
babies?
Mars. Yeah,
Nah, bruh, it's gonna happen. They're on the comeback. They've been
don't call it a comeback. They've been
been
here for years.
Gross.
It's
Oh, and she
happening.
does have a male and a female twins, even.
Well, but
Mars.
here's the other thing.
They're going full
So
Lannister.
they talk about like they don't have the resources to like fund this.
Ain't no money.
But if they've got the technology to have a Martian colony, even if it fails, I feel like they could at least have cloning technology designed. In theory, they could maybe, you can't support a full colony, but maybe you can launch a rocket
Get somebody
that gets
out
like
there.
some cloning.
You
like
can't
just a
3D
cloning-
print
a cloning,
up
a
there?
cloning
I mean, we
vat.
can 3D print now.
Yeah, 3D
They're
printer.
gonna do
3D
some-
print a
like,
people up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know.
Yeah,
Eh.
look, good story.
yeah.
It's all pointless in the end. Is what that's such a
This
downer fucking story.
Nihilist intern
Yeah.
Tanya over here. God.
Like, okay, so great, cool. The mom and the kids don't die immediately on Mars.
Cool.
They're dead anyway. Super,
Cool.
love that. Wonderful.
Okay, well, then,
and you also
Tanya.
don't get your obelisk.
Hey, Tanya.
Everyone loses.
Okay, you're just gonna die, so just stop doing things now. Like just
I try real hard.
I've noticed.
Well, here's the thing. Like the whole thing about like the obelisk, it's like, well, to be remembered, but remembered by who? I mean, what's the point? Like, if humanity's going to die, like I never got the point. Like,
Yeah.
Something that will outlast us and be remembered.
Well, isn't that what?
To what end?
But
I
isn't
mean,
that not what
something
people
will
do when they have kids?
evolve or something.
Think about people who are like, I want my genetics to pass on. I want somebody to be able to take care of me.
But
how is that any different than
you
The
passing on
fact
your
that-
genetics to a kid? It's
that
right
can
there.
live and exist outside of
life
you.
goes on.
Like, what?
building a obelisk that
Oh
because
my-
you think humanity is going to die out and it's going to outlive humanity. Who is going to see it and enjoy it? Like it'd be like, oh man, I want to write this book for I want to be remembered by this book, but I write it in a languge that no one can
I made
read,
up and no one will
then
ever
I
know.
bury it in the ground and let no one ever see it. Like, okay, I wrote this book for posterity, but no posterity's ever going
Like
to
the
see
only
it,
point of
you know?
having done this was to build this thing so that if after they're all dead, some other single cell organism eventually becomes sentient in such a way that it'll still be there. But
or I guess an alien maybe. But,
yeah, but
all that money could have been better spent on
fixing Earth
on
instead
Earth.
of trying
Yeah.
to leave Earth? and going to Mars.
Yeah, fix Earth. Don't leave Earth.
Even leaving Mars, it could have been better spent not giving up and building a monument.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Good talk. I
liked Sun, Moon, and Dust.
I enjoyed
better.
them both.
It was much more. I felt better about that story when I finished reading it. When I finished the Obelisk story, I was like, well.
Yeah, why would you feel hopeful after reading a story that the main theme at the end of it is like being hopeful for the future? I get that. You know.
All right. So, if you want to go ahead and get a start on next month's reads,
which I do because
Yes,
I almost forgot these ones this time.
So
I read them this morning.
Like I said, I'll print these out for y'all. But if you wanted to get a jump on it,
yes, please.
Seasons of Glass and Iron by
Mm-hmm.
Amal El Motar. Haven't read it. Don't know anything about it. I think it was nominated for like a Nebula or something like that. I think I found it looking at a list of stories. The other story. All right. Remember in season 1, we did A Flawless Silence by Yi Yoon Lee, and we all hated that story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when I was reading the comments, everyone's like, "Oh man, this is just the worst story by her."
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
I'm down.
So,
we're trying her again.
A Sheltered Woman by Yi Yoon Lee. We're giving her. I haven't read it either, but we're giving her a chance for a comeback.
Round 2.
Yeah.
With a name like that, I'm sure I'll love it.
A Sheltered Woman. Battered Women sounds delicious.
Yikes.
800,000 battered women. I've been eating on plane for years.
Wow.
I saw.
Okay,
that, I saw that on
guys.
a shirt.
Let's throw back to that Gillette episode last week.
We're gonna get me too'd.
Yeah, you're.
All right.
We're equally offensive.
So, all right. Anything I want to add before we cut out of here? Anything?
No.
Well, when we get out of here, we'll see what next. We were going to look at. Oh God, I forgot to look ahead of time. We're going to start announcing what we're going to talk about in the upcoming week.
Ooh, I can look at it if you just want to kill time. I have it pulled up on my phone.
Well, I'd rather not just waste these people's time.
Well, we're not wasting time, really. We're just having a discussion, which,
I think
that's
maybe Bob, me and you can have a conversation about how
Tanya's
maybe
the devil.
Tanya needs to go to Mars.
Oh, I thought you were going to say therapy, because I do that.
Well,
I'm not saying it's really effective for me.
Well, that was what I was going to say. You
I'm
can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. So maybe just send her to Mars.
Can't save her. She don't want to be saved. I don't have Google Sheets on my phone, so I'm just kidding.
All right, so we won't, after all. All right, but going forward, we will
docs,
start
not
researching
sheets.
so we can tell y'all a week in advance. We're give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about.
Hold on, Bob. Did you just cough and grab your head?
Yes.
Derek, in this episode.
So
has he fixed his head problems?
I did actually go to the doctor.
Did he see a doctor?
There's a long line, so I left.
He went to the doctor.
In the coming week, I hope that you all enjoy the blessing of the beard.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Books, Beards, Booze. Our co-hosts are Bob, Derek, and Tanya. Our producer is Bob. For more information, visit our website, booksbeardsbooze.com. Follow our social media at Tales by Bob. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate, subscribe, and share. Okay, bye.